bishop, executive director, associates, secretary. Not only do some of the betas oversee their different communities, but together they form our senior leadership team and are actually helping us steer our conference from being a declining denomination to a dynamic movement. And so I want to take some time today to let you see them and hear their heart. So I'm going to call them to come forward. And whoever comes on this side over here, Matt, can you grab that microphone? And then Wayne, if you come up, can you grab that microphone? We'll meet up here on the platform, and we're going to do kind of like a little conversation. So come on up, betas. All right, you got it, Spencer? Thank you. Hey, let's thank Spencer in the back. He's the guy that makes us all sound good, so you can give him a round of applause, too. You do have to stand for this. It's called a lightning round, so you can't sit. All right. So the betas serve as our denominational's leadership team, and I thought it would be good for you to see what I have to work with. I want you to see that we are a team and we work together, and I want you to hear the hearts of these guys. And so I'm not specifically going to be asking them questions about their individual communities, because you read their reports, right? How many of you read the reports so you know what you're doing? All right. Can you do it again? Because Wayne's feeling a little insecure. All right. Great. Great. So also, Vice Chair Jeff Schell, who you saw yesterday, and he filled us in a lot on his life while we're waiting for the ballot. I hope you took notes. But I asked Reverend Schell to be the Vice Chair of National Conference because on our team, we needed someone with the history of the EC Church. And so, you were born and raised in Palmyra. Like, this guy has been EC since day one. So I appreciate the history that he brings to our team and the optimism and encouragement that he brings to our team. So that's why I have Reverend Jeff Schell. Now, Brad Hatter is also part of the betas as the Secretary of National Conference. And a lot of times in our meetings, Brad represents, I would say, the local pastor. So he always asks questions coming from the perspective of a pastor. So sometimes we are like looking at the 30,000-foot view of, denominations and things, and Brad will just ask an obvious question. Why can't we go to a 2-day conference, right? I don't know. Let's see if we can figure that out. So we appreciate that. So the rest of the guys on the platform, hopefully Kevin Henry, the only guy that doesn't have a theological degree and the guy that does everything that's non-theological, and I appreciate him. A lot of you have taken our advice. Call him, ask him. He's out there helping pastors and churches, and he's the guy that always tells us what we can't do. Like, let's do this and we'll spend money. Nope, you can't do that. So we appreciate that. So in my Episcopal address, I made the point that it really is pastors that are going to make us be a dynamic movement, not the bishop, not the associates, it's pastors. And so we're investing in the pastors. I think I would ask Matt this question. What strategies that we're trying are exciting you when it comes to fit and flourish pastors and raising up pastors? You want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm most excited about is that idea that really, it feels like we're kind of building the plane while we're flying it, to be honest with you, but the joy of coming to the opportunity to try new things, that you've given us permission as associates to say, like, we're going to try new things and see what the Lord does and how he blesses it. And so as an MDC, one of the big ideas that we have is how can we be proactive rather than reactive when we think about this idea of being a dynamic movement, that if we really are going to be a dynamic movement, that we need the next generation of men who are going to lead the church. And so we've really thought a lot about how do we put into our ICL, our Institute of Church Leadership, and how do we create that to be more practical and applicable, so that way we're training up not only first career pastors, but second career pastors and giving them an opportunity to learn and grow. But also things like pastoral recruitment. We just started a pastoral recruitment task force, and 3 of our guys, Keith House, Jake Farnham, and Tommy Elder down here, we had an opportunity to go to Lancaster Bible College this year to a college and camping ministry fair, and to talk about the denomination, that we are available, that we're here, that we stand on the truth and the authority of God's word, and we would love to invite them to consider the EC denomination. And so we're able to have those conversations. Things like Paul Weitzel and I are, he doesn't know this yet, I'm just informing him. We're going to have lunch today. I'll buy it today for you.
Wow.
But we're going to sit and really talk about this idea of an Ignite retreat, where we want to invite middle school and high school students in for a weekend, where we have an opportunity to talk to them about, is God potentially calling you into ministry? Because we believe deeply that God is calling people out of our churches, as we've already been talking, to answer the call and to become the future generations of leaders in the denomination. And so it does feel a little bit like we're building the plane like we're flying it while we're flying it, but we are really excited and believing that the Lord is going to give us vision and wisdom, and that he is going to prepare the hearts of those that are going to answer the call for that. The other thing that I'm really excited about, and I've already started to record some of these, and I might approach you yet before we're done today in the boardroom, we have a camera set up, is one of the ideas is, how do we even identify the call in your local congregation? How do you help a young man or young woman in missionary work, all of those sorts of things? How can we start to help them understand that God is working in your life and calling you? And so we're developing hopefully a short video to help describe what the call is, how to recognize it, how to invite them to start considering what God is doing in their lives. We want to resource you as the MDC. And so those are some really exciting ways that we're preparing for the future.
Yeah, amen. Hand the microphone to Mike. I'm going off script here. So one of the things, I was in Arkansas with some denominational leaders, and we were talking about the national shortage of pastors. Every denomination is facing the same thing. And why is that? And what is different in those churches that are raising up and sending out pastors? And I'm going to ask Mike Snediger, because at Community Church, you have a history of raising up and sending out pastors. What do you look for, or what are you doing that maybe we're missing to recognize those guys in your congregation that might have a call?
Yeah, so I would say 2 things. Number one, as pastor, it's just looking. It's just being aware of who might God be calling. I think so many of us, we see our job to preach a good sermon, to do some visits, and we're not intentionally saying, God, we're believing you're raising up people within our midst to be pastors, missionaries, church planters, and so we're looking for that. And we're gonna have ICNU conversations, right? The 4 most important letters in the alphabet. ICNU. I see in you like God's doing something. Would you pray about that? And you speak that to somebody, and they do. And so I think that's super important. The other thing I think is important is just building intentional relationships, right? We've believed for so long that discipleship happens in front of, with a person standing in front of a group who's just talking, and we're discipling then, right? But I think Jesus discipled in relationships, in just small, intimate relationships. And so we've really pushed, who are you connected with? Who are you investing in? Who's investing in you? And I think it's in those relationships that we start to see those kind of callings identified. Doug Shuey, who's here. Oh, Doug's over right here, right? Like I remember Doug and Tanner were meeting together regularly. And Tanner, before he left, said to me, hey, I think there might be something in Doug, right? So it was I invested in Tanner, and Tanner was investing in Doug, and so Tanner saw it, right? So it's those relationships that bring those gifts to the surface.
Now, I don't know if you want to answer this, but I just feel a little ornery. Has God ever said, hey, talk to that guy? And you're like, oh, God, not him.
Yeah, so I think
I didn't really want you to answer that.
No, I'm going to answer it because I think it's really important. Here's the thing. I've often said that most pastors are really good at preaching a sermon saying, God asks you to tithe, give 10%, right? And we tell people, right, give of your first fruits. And so it's actually just the opposite. When God says, these are people that I'm calling into ministry, don't judge me, because I think you probably have it too. I have a list of 10 or 15 people that I wish God would call into ministry so I could send them out. I know I shouldn't say it,
Strike
but it's
that
true,
from
right?
the minutes.
We have the people we wish God would call out. But the truth is, it's your best. It's your top 10%. It's your high producers. Those are the people he's calling into ministry. And so we don't identify it because we hope they never leave our church. We want to keep them because they're benefiting us. Well, guess what? God is actually raising them up, and he wants to send them out. And I think we've got to practice what we preach in tithing and saying every one of our churches should be willing to send out our best 10% out into ministry elsewhere.
That's too honest. So I want to talk with Ted next. You know what I learned? Did you tell him, Paul, what you did on AI and his church? Okay. Should I tell him? So, Paul told me that he typed in AI and said, what exciting things are happening in the EC church? And your church came up. Is that right? What's happening at Schuylkill Haven came up. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about
I knew they were tracking me. I knew it. I know it.
He wants a free lunch, but Matt's already doing it. Don't talk about global ministries for this segment. You guys are kind of on the front line of a discipleship pathway, and disciples make disciples. So how is that looking? What are you doing?
Well, actually, the discipleship pathway conversation did influence global ministries because of the intentionality and emphasis we wanted to put on mission discipleship, that everything we do should have some kind of discipleship component to it. So that was like 2-ish years ago where God was just impressed. That was 10 years-ish that I was at the church, and God was just impressing on me like, okay, I'm looking back at that 10 years, and we started having this discipleship conversation as a group, and I started getting challenged about who have I intentionally discipled in my own church? And I could say, hey, I discipled that guy, and he's discipled this other guy. And at that same time, Mike was getting groups together for exponential cohorts to talk about that discipleship and to really think about and think through what a discipleship pathway looks like at your church. And so through all that, it was really first it had to be a intentional switch in my own mind that this is what I'm supposed to be doing as the pastor. And that means there's a whole bunch of other things I'm not going to do. And I got to tell my leaders that, and then they just got to be okay with the fact that this is what I think God's calling pastors, something that I did a little bit of, but I believed myself, but us as pastors got to be really intentional about the discipling others and training people how to disciple others. So as I started doing that, we went to Exponential, made that investment of time away, of money to go, but that really helped me figure out how to do a pathway that is simple, that not just you don't need a Bible degree to do it, but also reproducible in that other people can do the same thing. So if I disciple somebody else can get discipled. And so we created a pathway, and one of the things we knew we had to be was intentional. We had to make this the thing. This isn't a program we're doing. This is who we are if we're going to create a discipleship culture at our church. And so that started with me, and then it goes to all of my leaders. And then we knew it had to be immersive. It had to be something that was highly relational, because that's what we saw Jesus doing, is in this highly relational environment, discipling with people over an extended period of time, and then releasing them to go and do it. So we basically created 3 phases that we keep groups small. We call it a discipleship pathway. And I did discipleship leader training. And then these are mature Christians who can disciple others. And you go through 3 pieces of material. The first one is called Real Life Discipleship. That was a book by Jim Putman. And that's like the spiritual gut check. It's where are you, really? And so I've had people that have been in church a long time, and they're learning new information about, wow, I never actually saw myself as being the person that's supposed to be doing this. And then the second phase is just kind of solidifying and providing that foundation of the core truths of Christianity, what it means to be identified as a Christian. This is not just an accessory. This is defining me. This faith in Jesus defines who I am. And then the third phase, we use something called God Space, which we've used here. Also, we use some other resources as well, but it's really about engagement. Throughout that pathway and process, you were already praying about who God's maybe calling you to disciple. And so as groups go through, there's usually no more than 5. It's 5 or less, go through together. At the end of that, they're looking to disciple somebody else. I've got 2 guys that will do that. They're going to start another group because they've gone through, it's about an 18-month process that they've gone through. And then 2 other guys that just, they don't feel like they're there yet. But you can clearly see a difference in their walk with the Lord and their spiritual maturity from where they were prior to where they are now. And one of the guys that I'm discipling in my group, he has 0 Christian background. He didn't know how to find a Bible verse. He didn't know chapter and verse. And so had we not been intentional, we're just assuming he's coming to church now, came to an egg hunt, I don't know why, we just were doing an egg hunt. We had like a 5-minute gospel presentation, came to the table, started talking to us, started coming to church. But for a long time, it was just like, well, I hope he gets connected somewhere and just starts growing as I'm preaching messages. And because we were being intentional about it, all the ups and downs you go through when you have no clue what it means to follow Jesus, he's now journeying with 3 other guys to help him do that as he's figuring out, oh, I should probably marry this girl that I'm with, that I have 2 kids with. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. And I can help you with that. So we're doing premarital counseling. But because of that intentionality, it wasn't just hoping, well, I hope he gets it. It was, we're going to breathe life into you. And he's had all kinds of, he's only 24, and he's had all kinds of issues as a kid. He's never had these kinds of relationships in his life. He didn't even know what to do with it because of being intentional about that discipling process. And then I said, we got to meet weekly. For 12 weeks, we're meeting every week. We're going through specific material, and through all that, he's super engaged, his wife is, and they'll be getting married hopefully this year.
Great. So I'm hearing intentionality is the thing, which is a good segue to the finance committee. So if you hand that microphone to Kevin, we talked about the fact that movements need money. They need logistical, administrative support, sometimes legal support. We are a small denomination, but we have lots of things to offer. So Kevin, I'd like you to talk a little bit about that. Like, you're in charge of the conference support team. What kind of things do you guys offer to help us out?
Okay, yeah. So as the conference support team, like I said, we are in a supporting role. We don't drive the bus. We don't want to, be in front. We're the ones that follow the parade and clean up after the elephants. So
Hold on.
somebody has to do it.
You see what I have to work with? Don't.
Anyways, so actually, I was listening to a podcast on my hour drive in this morning, and the gentleman was talking about the ladies who walked with Jesus, traveled with Jesus, and supported him. And they were necessary for him to do what he needed to do. So again, that is the role of the conference support team. So it would be myself, Jody, Wendy, Bethany, and Shirley kind of make up the conference support team. Great ladies. They are absolutely invaluable to everything that is done. My job is to say, yes, dear, and move and get out of their way. That being said, so some of the things that we do is, like I said, we would have certificates for you. Bethany did a great job on the certificates. She updated them. They are free, available for download if you have a good printer. If you want us to print them for you, there's some minor customization we can do, names and dates. We can print them for you on a little bit better quality paper, mail them to you for nominal cost. The big thing is of course, we talked about at the budget, Finance Committee, the $200,000 that we are giving away, helping for any sort of projects. And I am going to encourage you to please spend the money. Please spend it. If you have an idea, doesn't matter how big or how small, talk to one of these guys up here on the stage with me. Talk to your DFD. Get the process started. They will kind of filter it down to the correct community, and we'll talk about it. Also, as Matt said, we are building this as we go along. We really don't have any rules or regulations or process yet in place. So if you do know anything, no matter how big or how small, please reach out to somebody and let's talk about it. And if we can fund it, we will. We talked about the exponential that Matt Mike, Ted, all of us went to. Yeah, we're all there. We're on our third group now of Exponential. We are helping with doing some of those travel costs to go to Exponential. Mike has said, don't let costs get in the way. Reach out to one of us. Student aid is available. You're going to school, ICL. Please reach out to us. We have funds available for that as well.
So how many of you pastors have ever gone to your finance committee meeting or your budget meeting and they say, hey, you need to spend money? I mean, I love our finance committee. They're like, listen, we're not a bank. We're investing wisely. We want to be here for a long time, but we don't want to just keep collecting money. Let's invest now while we can so we have a greater return. And I do want to say this about Kevin because, everybody knows he's nice, but he likes to pretend like he's not nice. But I know he loves churches and pastors. And I know, like, for instance, last Saturday at 7 o'clock in the morning, he's sitting with church leadership team, helping them put a new plan together. So I really appreciate you, Kevin. Glad you're part of the team. Just pretend he's not nice, but secretly know he is nice, even though he called us elephants. But you hired him, right, Mike?
Yeah, Mike.
Did you hire him? So
you did hire me. Yeah, you and Dennis. Yeah.
Maybe you should ask Keith. He might remember. So, thanks. Now, you heard from our speaker today those startling statistics about pastors and giving up and where they are. And we talked a lot last year about the health of pastors and churches. And so, Wayne, you have the microphone. I'd like you to talk a little bit about that. Like, we're going to transform plateaued and declining churches into healthy churches, which need healthy pastors and whatnot. So from your perspective, what can we offer? What are we doing? What would you encourage them to do?
Sure. As the bishop mentioned, we started this process last year when we had Dave Wheatus, who, as I mentioned last year, was my personal counselor for a couple of years, come in and talk about some of the resources that are available to us through a group called Serving Leaders, because the betas decided at some point we need a reliable resource that can help our pastors be well. We minister to people in our churches, and we usually think of it in three categories. There's the body and the mind and the spirit. And hopefully pastors and lay delegates are really good at the spiritual disciplines. We know we're supposed to read our Bible and pray in the morning. That's kind of a given. If you ever watch the Wheel of Fortune, at the bonus round, they give you RSNTLE. That's a given. And so I need to pray more. I need to read my Bible more is the RSNTLE of spiritual discipline.
I've
But
never heard that before.
you can use that if you like it.
I'm going to write it.
I think I might have come up with that myself. But so we need to be not just well spiritually speaking to minister. I knew somebody that had bought a car and for better than 2 years drove it, never once changed the oil. Guess what happened to the car, right? It quit. And so if you look at your physical health as a way to transport us through our ministry, to be able to get where God's calling us to go, it's important that we maintain our physical health. And in the bags that you all got when you came through registration yesterday, there are a little bit of the sort of tips in maintaining your physical health. And that came from the church health community. And Janer Beswick is the guy. Actually, Christy, his wife, is the one I know that put it together, because I saw the email chain, Janer. It's fine. I asked you to do it, but you passed it off to your wife. So, but then our mental and emotional well-being is absolutely critical. If any one of the three areas of our health gets out of whack, it tends to drag the other two with it. And so one of the blessings that we've had in the last couple of years is we doubled the number of counseling visits that are available to pastors in our denomination that we'll pay for. It went from 3 to 6. And so any pastor in our denomination can go to resources in your community if you know who they are. If you don't have them, then you can do a Zoom call with serving leaders. Their office is in Westchester, but they can Zoom counsel you wherever you are. And so we think it's that important that Kevin talked about spending money. This is a resource that's available to all of our pastors. And so I encourage you to take advantage of it, because we hear testimonies from pastors who have started counseling, and it's, man, I feel so much lighter in my ministry. We think that's being stoic about the difficulties that we're going through is somehow honorable. I don't really believe that it is. I think we need to be open enough to say, you know what, I need to be well. And so we're used to the idea of doctors telling us what we ought to do, right? We all go, hopefully you see the doctor at least once in a while, and they say, okay, here's the lifestyle changes you need to make, and you need to exercise more and eat better. We all know that, right? RSNTLE. But we don't usually do it. Usually we wait until it gets really bad. We get a scary diagnosis. The doctor says, hey, I need to talk to you right away. Can you come into the office until we make changes? And so I want to encourage you to be well so we can minister effectively. A church cannot be healthy without a healthy pastor, and a pastor cannot be healthy without a healthy marriage. And so that's another thing that we've added this year, is that November 6th and 7th, it's a Friday and a Saturday at our church in Royersford, there is what's called the Created for Connection Marriage Conference. You'll be seeing more about that. Most of you have heard at least a portion of my testimony, where my wife and I were both saved through difficulty in our marriage about 4 days apart. And praise the Lord, he healed our marriage to the point where we're able to minister to other couples that are going through difficulty in their marriage. But the Creative for Connection Marriage Conference is a great opportunity. It's based on a book. I can't remember the name of the author right now, but there are 7 conversations that you have during the course of that 2 days together. And I'll be honest with you, there's conversations you probably don't want to have, because we avoid them, don't we? And that's not really a healthy thing to do. And so I want to encourage you for that. There will be information coming out about that. Our pastors and their wives will have first pass at registration at a discounted price. And you'll see all the timing and links to the registration, that kind of thing. But again, that's going to be a Friday and a Saturday. You'll have to take a day off of work if your spouse or you work on a Friday or a Saturday. But you can be planning for it now. Again, it's November 6th and 7th in Royersford. You'll get more about that coming up.
All right. RSTLNE.
Yeah.
Wow, I learned something today. All right, this is not on your script, but here's what I'd like to do. So I just want to remind you, as I said in my Episcopal address, so we got away from Church Center. We went on a retreat, and we just spent time in prayer and saying, God, what can we do with what we have? You saw the 10 things. You'll read that in the Episcopal address. These are the things that we think we can nurture along to become a dynamic movement. Really, it's in your hands, not our hands. We can't make churches or pastors do anything. But we've made a commitment to continue meeting. We meet every month, kind of a normal meeting, but we're going to set aside maybe 3 or 4 of those meetings per year just to talk about how can we nurture our conference along as a dynamic movement. We have an honest evaluation that we're a declining denomination, but we're hopeful that God is going to transform us into a dynamic movement. So here's how I'd like to end. I'd like to give you all an opportunity to say, 2 years from now, what would you like to see happen? It could be in your specific area of ministry or whatever. So
Yeah, I got the microphone, so
I
that
know.
means
Yeah,
I
you
go first.
you can designate someone. That's the
Oh,
power of the
awesome,
microphone.
The power of the microphone. I'm the oldest one too, so that's helpful.
Are you
Uh,
really the oldest one?
I am. I'm older than you.
Holy smokes!
I know. I think that's the only reason I'm up here is because they need the bishop wants somebody older than him.
And I know the
As
burning
part of the group.
question in all your minds is which one is the bishop's favorite. But I'm holding that. I'm holding that until we know.
We all really know who it is, though, don't we, guys? Yeah,
It's dead.
it's dead. No, but
Well, actually,
What-
Kevin signs my paycheck.
what I that's what it always comes down to. What I would love to see in 2 years is probably twofold. One is testimonies from pastors and lay leaders in churches, people in the pews in churches that say, like, yeah, look where we were 2 years ago and look where we are today. Who would have believed it possible? We were so discouraged, and look what God's done in our midst. The other thing that I would love to see is more and more pastors and people
I
in our
just
church.
said one.
Oh, these are related, and I still have the microphone. Is that people in our churches would be seeking out resources and coming to me and saying, hey, you know, I read this article, I listened to this podcast, I read this book. What do you think about that? You're going to see more and more resources that we're going to put out for all you guys.
Now, don't try to top Wayne to have three. Then it'll be three, and then four, and then five.
Okay. So my two things would be. What? He did it. Okay. My one thing.
3 points, so you're good. You only got 2.
So my one thing would be I'd love to see churches start to be creative with their ministries. Randy talks all the time about contextual ministry. What's in your community? What do you need to do? And for us to come along and support you in that. I've said before, we know we're going to fail. Some of these initiatives are going to be a waste of money. We understand that. But if we don't try them, we're not going to know that. So that's what I would like to see is creativity.
Here's my 3-point sermon. We got about no, I got two. I got two, but they're related.
In 2 minutes, grab that microphone.
Later this evening, we're gonna take some time to go through the credentialing report. I don't think Randy likes me because I'm between you and the end of conference with the credentialing report. But every
We saved
year,
the best for last.
That's right. Yeah, no, I'm not the favorite. He put me last. One of the things that I love about that every year is we get to have individuals stand before the national conference and confess their love for Jesus and their desire to follow the call of the Lord on their lives. I would love to see that be so large because of what we're doing and people hearing the call on their lives that we'd run out of room. And we wouldn't know what to do. We'd have to like bring them up here and down front and everything and be able to pray over them. That's my one. And then my second one that isn't a part of that is to see, and you know, Doug's over here, Mike's here, to see what they're doing in the pastoral residency, not only go from community, but to so many other churches that we don't know what to do and how to really make that work without maybe hiring and stealing Doug from Mike because we got to make him full time to make it work or whatever. That really would be an awesome thing to see the Lord utilize that and to see pastors being trained up and given opportunities to lead the next generation of the denomination.
So, Doug, we learned if you make Mike upset, he'll want to get rid of you, and then we can have you.
I don't have to worry about if I'm the favorite. My mom's here, so I already know. And my brother and sisters aren't here, so I'm all right. My self-esteem's good. I would say that what I'd like to see is kind of the same transformation in my own heart and mind across the board as pastors of just the intentionality of discipleship in our churches. I shared at my church that I wanted us to be a disciple-making culture by 2028. I think it's going to happen before that, and that simply is I can point to somebody who I intentionally discipled, and they intentionally discipled someone else. And why I said that the global ministries has been impacted by this too is because I don't want mission trips to be some kind of event or transaction that you do. Oh, we did that in the summer and now it's over. We have got to use that intentionally for discipleship, because we all know if you've been on a mission trip, God shows up in big ways on those mission trips. So if we do some of that discipling ahead of time, and then when we're on the trip, and then when we follow that trip, I do think we'll see more people get a sense of call, whether it's pastoral ministry or missions, to have somebody feel like, I think God might be calling me to this. And that's why with the GMC, why we do the mission discipleship, and we're going to Spain and I'm leading a team there, and that's the point. And we're trying to take people who have that heart for it, but then to try and deepen that. And I think if we can be more intentional about these things we do and using them as discipling opportunities, we'll be a disciple-making culture as a denomination, and then we'll see these things taking place. So I'm praying that that happens as a denomination.
Nice.
So I know I'm not the favorite, because if you guys could see the document Randy sent us of this is how we're doing this, I was last. So I'm not.
I
the
said we
favorite.
saved
But
the
anyway,
best for last.
I'm the anchor. Okay, we'll go with that. Thanks, Matt.
I
Yeah,
gave you
if
the
I could.
microphone first.
What's that?
I gave you.
You
the
threw
microphone.
this out the window.
I know.
Right? The document was a rouge, so here we go. Anyway, if I could project 2 years from now, I real short story that kind of sets this up.
Did we allow stories?
Yeah. So we have a guy in our church who has really kind of latched on to helping us do a better job as a church with social media. And he came and sat with me a couple of weeks ago, and he said, man, I have this great vision, and I have no idea what he was talking about, of how we could do some collaborative work. And he listed 5 churches in our area who have a social media presence. And he said, if we did this, and we connected collaboratively, we would all kind of share each other's content, and it would boost our views, and then more people would view it. And so, YouTube and TikTok and all those would naturally put it out there more. He said, wouldn't that be amazing? And I said, Josh, that would be amazing. I don't think it would work, because most churches are too competitive. And they don't want other churches to be exposed, or they don't want their people to be exposed to other churches, because they're fearful that somebody might go to another church. And Rich was talking earlier, and it was all I could do to not stand up and scream amen when he talked about being willing to look at different ways of doing church. So many of us, my good friend, well, he's not really a good friend, he's a friend.
The jury's out on whether he's
the
good or
jury's
not.
out.
Yeah, I know.
He's a great guy. His name's Larry. His name's Ted Rathman. No, his name's Larry Walkemeyer, and Larry says this: are you too busy building your castle that you forget to build the kingdom? And I think so many of us, we are just consumed with our castle, and we've lost sight of the kingdom. And so if I could project 2 years from now, what I would love is this conference to be so kingdom-minded that we said, what are things we can do to reach the kingdom that are never going to grow our church? What are things we could do to collaborate in our districts that are never going to grow our local church, but they're going to grow the kingdom? And I think if we were so kingdom-minded that we threw out our own castle, man, it would change everything. When it comes to discipleship, I love this statement. If you are so focused at growing your church, you may make disciples. But if you are focused at making disciples, you will grow your church. And I think the same is true when it comes to the kingdom of God. If your church is solely focused at growing the kingdom, your castle will grow. But if all you care about is growing your castle, it's probably going to end in the death of your castle to the detriment of the kingdom. And so, if I could say in 2 years, I would love to see our efforts just change this body to say, you know what, we are solely kingdom minded.
Thanks. You know, we have the same shoes on.
I know, well, that's because I want to be like you.
I want to be like you.
You guys should switch.
Mike was my associate pastor. I always looked up to him. And I still do. So, all right. I wanted you just to hear the heart of this team. We just throw out acronyms, betas. I always think of those fancy fish. You know, we should maybe get t-shirts. But anyway, and I appreciate having this team that we meet monthly and they help. If it was just the bishop, it wouldn't work. So they help guide us. And then, of course, once a month, we bring in the district field directors and all of us meet together. And it just helps move us forward as a dynamic movement of God. And I wanted you to see how we work together. We do enjoy each other's company, but we're honest enough that we don't always agree with each other. And we can do that and still be fine, too. But except for Kevin and me, none of these guys really have to be up here, right? They don't have to be in their areas of responsibility because they're in shared ministry. Kevin and I are the only 2 full-time paid employees of the National Conference. And these men and our DFDs are going above and beyond in order to serve us as a conference, because I think we all have a desire to see us transform from a declining denomination to a dynamic movement. Amen? Amen. So would you join me in just expressing your appreciation for this team? Thank you, guys. Give me a sticker. All right, we have to hand out the stickers. Can you hold that?
Yeah, sure. Which sticker do I get?
Here's the option. Need improvement.
You have to choose.
I know, I'm just letting them know.
We're getting graded. We knew it was coming.
Remember, he gave us a.
You know what? We're just going to do needs improvement. All right. Because I don't want you to have an inflated ego, I'm going to give you all needs improvement stickers. All right.
Oh, man.
Because I know you'll still love me.
Well, yeah. Look at the face.
This is the one with stash. This isn't the one. With
No.
The frowny face.
This is the picture I sent my son when he was in college and said, "This is your father. Don't do anything I wouldn't do." And Bethany found it online. So there you go. All right. Thanks, guys. Can you put that